It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, KCAL 9 presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Padres, but right away, we go to Dodger personnel. Chris Capuano, who was supposed to pitch last night and couldn't, has been put on the DL. He becomes the 15th Dodger to be on the DL and the 18th time the Dodgers have used the list this year. However, Capuano goes on the list, somebody comes off. In this case, Hanley Ramirez is not only off the list, he'll be playing shortstop and in the lineup tonight. As far as the numbers are concerned, a battle of two left-handers. For the Dodgers, it'll be Ted Lilly, 0-2 at the league. However, he's beaten the Padres 3 straight, and he's 11-4 lifetime against them. For San Diego, left-hander Clayton Richards, bothered by an intestinal virus since, early May at least. He's 1-5. However, when he pitches against the Dodgers in 14 starts, the Padres have won 9 of the 14. We'll get to the ball game, but before we do, we'll take a look at an interesting character named Puig right after this. Padres. Well, we had heard about him, we had read about him, and finally, Yasiel Puig arrived at Dodger Stadium, having flown in from Chattanooga. And in his first Major League at-bat, he hit a flare into center field for his first Major League hit. Later on, hard ground ball off the glove of Kyle Blanks for base hit number 2 in his young career. But he was just warming up. He showed speed going from first to third on a base hit by Nick Punto, and he capped the evening's performance with a catch and a magnificent throw to Adrian Gonzalez, doubled up to Norfia, and the Dodgers won the game 2-1. Yasiel Puig is here. We'll be back with the game right after this. By your Southern California Toyota dealers, we make it easy. By the Jim Beam Bourbon Burger with bacon, onion straws, and pepper jack cheese, all slathered in Jim Beam bourbon sauce, only at Carl's Jr. And by your Southern California Chevy dealers. Hi, everybody, and a pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the 3-game series between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. It also marks the 8th meeting of the year. Bud Black's crew has won 4 of 7, and they've also won 5 of the last 6 played here at Dodger Stadium. For each manager, they've struggled against left-handers. Black's club is 9-9 against left-hand starters. Mattingly's team is 9-11. Here's the Padre lineup. Chris Denorfia opens up in center field. Everett Cabrera at shortstop. Chase Headley bats third at third base. Carlos Quentin will be in left field hitting cleanup. Jed Jerko will be at second base. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Kyle Blanks, first baseman last night, right fielder tonight. Jesus Guzman will bat eighth at first base, and Clayton Richard the pitcher. On the mound for the Dodgers, Ted Lilly, the pride of San Luis Obispo. He is 37 years old, out of Torrance, California, originally drafted by the Dodgers back in 1996. Ted's record, well, he is 0-2 this year. However, he has beaten San Diego 3 straight. He is 11-4 lifetime against the Padres, and he also has a good number 5-1 against San Diego at Dodger Stadium. So Chris Denorfia, who had quite an experience last night, Denorfia was picked off first base on a great throw by Ramon Hernandez, and then on the last play of the game, Denorfia was doubled up on the fly ball to right field to Yasiel Puig. So Puig is ready, the teams are ready, and here we go as Denorfia, batting .299, checks in. And Lilly's first pitch, fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Denorfia, Cabrera, and Headley, with Cabrera and Headley switch hitters. Lilly from the third base side of the rubber. Ted into the windup. Left-hander comes right back. Fastball hammered to left center field and deep. And going to the track and watching it go out is Schumacher. So that didn't take long as Denorfia hits the pitch into the left center field stands for a home run. And just like that, it is 1-0 San Diego. For Chris Denorfia, that would be his third home run. He got a high fastball up around the letters, and it was gone. Of course, for Ted Lilly, he has always been victimized by the home run ball. He hasn't made only 4 starts prior to tonight, so that's only the third home run that he's given up this year. So the batter now is Everett Cabrera, and the shortstop switch hitter batting right-handed, and he takes low. 1 ball and no strikes. Cabrera with 4 home runs, 22 runs batted in, leading the majors in stolen bases, and the 1-0 pitch a little high, ball 2, 2-0. Cabrera went 2 for 3 last night, so he's had 4 multi-steal games with 2 stolen bases last night to give him 23. 2-0 pitch on the way. Lilly works it, and that's a strike, and they count 2-1. So Ted Lilly, often victimized by home runs in his career, he has now given up 291 on that home run to Chris Denorfia. 2-1 pitch on the way, and that works its way in for a strike, and they count 2-2. Cabrera nodding yes as if to agree with the plate umpire, Laz Diaz. Tim Timmons, Mike Winters, Mark Wegner working the lines. Waiting on deck is Chase Headley. Into the windup goes Lilly, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Curveball and a one-hopper hit to Gonzalez, who takes it to the bag.
Next to the Padres, third baseman, number 7.
So 1 away And Chase Headley coming up, another switch hitter. Headley last night struck out twice, singled and fly down, went 1 for 4. He had been 0 for 16, so he's had one hit in his last 20 at bats, average down to 236, and he takes the first one low and inside, ball 1. 1-0. Padres are in 4th place, trailing Arizona by 6. Dodgers in 5th place, trailing by 7.5. The next pitch is low and inside. So 2 balls and no strikes the count to Chase Headley. Lilly barely at the very edge of the third base side of the rubber. And the 2-0 pitch on the way to Headley is swung on. Fly ball into shallow left center. A trio of Dodgers and a sliding catch by Scott Van Slyke. So Van Slyke coming from deep left field, making a fine play. He had Schumacher coming on one side and Ramirez going out. So with 2 down, here's Carlos Quentin. The boos in the background, of course, bringing back memories of an awful evening with Quentin, along with Zach Greinke, etc., etc. So Quentin, right-hand batter, climbs in, hitting .230, 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in, way out in front of a changeup, and the count 0-1. Started against Toronto on Sunday, went 2 for 5. The Quentin, local boy, and the strike 1 pitch on the way. Carlos has a look, and that's a strike. Quentin actually backs out and said good pitch to the plate umpire Laz Diaz. Carlos from Bellflower, lives in Chula Vista, went to Stanford. The strike 2 pitch on the way. Lilly's curveball lifted foul off first base back into the crowd. Still 0-2. This was that awful night. The fastball that hit Quentin. Quentin then suddenly charging the mound. Greinke meeting him with his left shoulder, which caused a fracture of the collarbone. The melee that followed. And now the strike 2 pitch on the way. Quentin takes in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Everyone in and around baseball would basically say the same thing as Tim Wallach is talking to Clayton Kershaw. Nick Punto and Greinke is in that corner. Baseball has a way of working things out. The 1-2 pitch is low and away, and they count 2 balls and 2 strikes to Carlos Quentin. I can remember in the old days when the Dodgers absolutely hated Sal Maglie of the Giants. Carl Furillo once threw his bat trying to hit Maglie in the knees, and then Maglie was traded to the Dodgers, and his closest pal was Carl Furillo. There's a line drive base hit into left field. So a 2-out single by Carlos Quentin, and the batter now will be Jed Jerko, who's off to a wonderful start as the rookie second baseman. He was also a wonderful third baseman when Headley was out. So Jerko hitting .278. He has 6 home runs, 21 runs batted in. Hit cleanup last night and went 2 for 4. So Jerko with a half a dozen home runs, right-hand batter, and Lilly misses away, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Dodgers and Padres will be after each other again tomorrow night. Jason Marquis and Clayton Kershaw. The 1-0 pitch is instead a throw to first. Among other things, you could sum up Ted Lilly's problems: stolen bases and home run. Well, he's already given up the home run. Stolen bases in his career, the league has been successful 83% of the time. Fastball is hit in the air to left center, but it's playable. Schumacher backing out onto the track and makes the catch for the out. So for the Padres, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. Denorfia hits a home run, and at the end of half an inning, Padres 1, Dodgers coming up. more than the Dodgers to give them a 1-0 lead. Now let's take a look at Mattingly's lineup card. Yasiel Puig in right field and Mark Ellis at second base. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Hanley Ramirez hits cleanup at short. Scott Van Slyke in left. Juan Uribe at third. Skip Schumacher in center. Tim Fedorovich behind the plate. Ted Lilly on the mound. On the mound for the Padres, Clayton Richard out of Lafayette, Indiana, went to the University of Michigan, plagued with an intestinal virus this year, though he's 1-5, and the fastball is low and inside to Puig. 1 ball and no strikes. Richard is 6'5" and about 245. He can throw hard. The 1-0 pitch is swung on and lined down the right field line in the corner, and there goes Puig on his way into second. He will hold up with a stand-up double. Another paragraph in the Yasiel Puig story. Puig got one up out over the plate and just went the other way with it, and by the time Blanks ran it down, Puig was into second base with his third major league hit and his first extra base hit. So Puig, the tying run at second, nobody out, and Mark Ellis, Adrian Gonzalez, and Hanley Ramirez trying to pick him up. Some notes about Clayton Richard as he works on Mark Ellis. Padres have not scored runs for him. They get him about 2 runs a game. That's a hair more than they get from left-hander Eric Stokes. Mark Ellis fouls it back 0-1. Richard has not been around very long in his starts. He's averaging a little more than 4.5 innings a start. The left-hander set at the belt, comes right back to the hitter. Fastball punched to the right side and deep. Backhanded by Jerko to get him, and Puig takes third. Nice selfless at-bat, typically of Mark Ellis. So the tying run is now 90 feet away, and here comes Adrian Gonzalez. So Wallach talking to Puig, explaining what he wants him to do on a ground ball hit to the infield. Gonzalez hitting .326, 8 home runs, 42 runs batted in, and all kinds of remarkable numbers with runners in scoring position. So Adrian with a chance to tie it up, and Richard out of his stretch, checks, ready, and deals. Fastball down. You want to talk about 2 hitters dominating a pitcher. Adrian Gonzalez against Clayton Richard is hitting .800. He is 8 for 10. And Hanley Ramirez is hitting .900, 9 for 10. The next one is hit foul off third down the line, out of play, and the count 1-1. So the Dodgers have 2 very tough hitters against Richard back to back. Gonzalez in and out of the box. Richard waiting. Puig down the line from third. Richard at the belt. Clayton ready in the 1-1 pitch. Fastball, a hopper hard to the second baseman. Puig holds up and then goes back to third. So the ball was hit awfully hard, a 1-hopper, and he decided to hold on. So Gonzalez hits it right at Jerko, and Puig had to hold as Jerko just kept looking at him and then threw to first. So now Hanley Ramirez, as Puig remains at third with 2 out. That's a rare time when Gonzalez fails to pick up somebody, and wouldn't you know, he hit it right on the button, but right at Jed Jerko. Hanley Ramirez returning to the wars after a couple of rehab games. He should be very rusty. Let's see what he does against Richard. Clayton set, left-handed deals. Fastball is low and inside. 1 ball and no strikes to Hanley Ramirez. His average against Richard, 9 for 10, is actually .909, if you can imagine. Puig walking down the line from third. The 1-0 pitch on the way, very high. 2-0 the count. Waiting on deck, Scott Van Slyke. So Richard might very well pitch around Hanley and take his chances against Van Slyke. Richard has allowed 10 home runs, 8 of them on the road, and 8 to right-hand batters. Richard set. Now his 2-0 pitch on the way. Swung on, fouled away upstairs, and the count 2-1. So Hanley Ramirez comes off the DL. Chris Capuano went back on the DL. The 15th player to go on the DL, and the 18th time the Dodgers have used the list this year. Now the 2-1 pitch to Hanley Ramirez. Richards fastball, line drive, caught by the shortstop Cabrera. So 2 hard hit outs, and the Dodgers lead Puig at third. And at the end of an inning, it's the Padres 1 and the Dodgers nothing. One to nothing in favor of San Diego. Yasiel Puig doubles for his first major league extra base hit and his third hit of his young career. But the Dodgers hit the ball hard and leave him at third. So in the second inning, Yasmani Grandal, the catcher, will lead off, and he takes high, ball 1. Grandal had been suspended for 50 games, finally got back. He went 0 for 6 in a recent 17-inning game. The 1-0 pitch, and he takes very high, ball 2. In that game of 17 innings, he wound up playing a little bit of first base for the first time in his career. So Grandal waiting. Into the windup goes Ted Lilly, and the veteran left-hander's pitch is low, so he's behind now, 3-0. Lilly was greeted by a home run by Chris Denorfia. Got out of the inning with a couple of long fly balls. The 3-0 pitch on the way. Ted ready, delivers, and works it high, ball 4. So Grandal draws the walk, and the batter will be Kyle Blanks. Blanks, the right fielder who played first base last night and finished up in left field. It was Blanks who hit the long fly ball to right field, in which Puig made the catch on the track and then threw the strike to double up Denorfia at first base. Big Kyle hitting .264, 6'6", about 285. Lilly out of his stretch, a look over at first at Grandal. Ted now to the plate and works it away, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Blanks looking to Glenn Hoffman. Meanwhile, Fedorovich looking into the Dodger dugout. If they're wondering about Grandal at first, you don't expect the catcher to be running, but we'll see. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Lily's fastball is in there. 1-1 the count to Kyle Blanks. Blanks 1 for 4 last night. In his last 13 games, he's hit about 290. And he's picked up 8 RBIs. Big guy waiting. The 1-1 count. Lily set, delivers, and it is swung on and missed. And the count 1-2. Blanks, a very impressive looking ball player and getting better every time you see him. He's from Sellersville, Pennsylvania, but he lives in Moriarty, New Mexico. And the 1-2 pitch coming up. Lily set, the left-hander deals, and that's hammered to left field. Going back on the ball is Van Slyke, and that's up into the seats. Rattles back onto the field for a home run. So just like that, a 2-run home run by Blanks, and the Dodgers are really in a hole, 3-0 in favor of San Diego. For the Padres, they have now hit 50 home runs. So Denorfia homered, and now Blanks gets one above the belt, and he hits it out. For Kyle Blanks, that would be his 4th home run. 16 runs batted in. Van Slyke could only turn and watch that thing rattle around. The pitch now to Jesus Guzman is in for a strike. 0-1. So Blanks hits home run number 50 for the Padres. The strike 1 pitch, and Guzman fouls it back. 0-2 the count to Jesus. Guzman broke up the 17-inning game against Toronto with a walk-off single. That's the first Padre to have a walk-off base hit. Now he drives one to right center. Schumacher on the run picks it off. When Guzman had that walk-off RBI, it was also his 100th career RBI.
Number 33, Clayton Richard.
Clayton Richard won that game. That's why Richard is 1-5 thanks to Guzman. So we have an out, and here's Clayton Richard. Big swing, and he fouls it back, and the count 0-1. So a very shaky start. Ted Lilly. Home runs to Denorfia and Blanks, and he was ahead in the count on both home runs. The strike 1 pitch on the way, taken off the plate. The count was no balls, 1 strike to Denorfia, and the count to Blanks, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Lilly ready, fires, gets it at the knees for a strike, and the count 1-2. Clayton Richard has 1 hit, 1 for 8. Bats as he pitches, left-handed. Takes a big curveball in there for strike 3, and that's the 2nd out. First strikeout for Ted Lilly.
Center fielder.
And the center fielder, Chris Denorfia, coming up. Of course, Denorfia plays all over the outfield. They are minus infielder Logan Forsythe and center fielder Cameron Maben. Both Forsythe and Maben are on a 20-day rehab in Tucson, and both, from what we hear, almost ready to come back. The pitch to Denorfia, the boy from Connecticut, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Denorfia has hit safely in 12 of the last 17. He swings, fouls it at the plate, and the count 0-2. 3 home runs, 17 runs batted in, and hitting a little over 300. Chris Denorfia. Chris waiting. Lilly holds the ball at the belt. Now into the windup. And his strike 2 pitch, line drive, foul down the left field line into the box seats, and the count remains 0-2. Denorfia came into the game hitting .318 against left-handers. So he has greeted Lilly with a home run, so he's hitting better than .320. Strike two pitch coming up. Ted delivers, breaking ball, and that's fouled off. Big slow curveball at 74. Since 2011, DeNorfia is hitting better than .331 against left-handers. Strike two pitch to the right-hand hitter is taken low and inside. Ball one. That ties him with Ryan Braun, third most hits against left-handers in the league. So DeNorfia waits. Lilly into the windup, and his 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and sliced foul out of play. If you joined us late, DeNorfia hit the second pitch of the game for a home run, and now here in the second inning, a walk to Grandal, and Blanks hits a home run. So 3-0 San Diego. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Lilly fires, little roller up along third, and the ball kicks foul. Smart play by Uribe to let the ball decide the issue, and DeNorfia will have to come back. Right up along the chalk, and then at the last second before it got to the bag, it went foul. With 2 home runs tonight, San Diego now has hit 50 home runs, 10 more than the Dodgers. Padres are a break-even 9-9 against left-hand starters. The Dodgers are 9-11. Lilly into the windup, and Ted's 1-2 pitch is a high fastball fouled away off to the right and well back into the crowd. A lot of Dodger caps here tonight. Cap night. And the Dodger blue trimmed in white. And everybody has a new chapeau. One and two. Lilly works quickly, comes right back to his hitter. Fastball, it's popped up on the right side. Mark Ellis, the second baseman, makes the catch, and that's the inning. But 2 runs, 1 hit, 1 swing of the bat by big Kyle Blanks, and it's 3-0 San Diego. Run, add that to DeNorfia's home run, and the Padres lead 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Lilly laboring, has made 42 pitches in the first 2 innings. Clayton Richard facing Scott Van Slyke, gets it in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Van Slyke homered and singled last night. He has 5 home runs, 5 doubles, and 3 singles. Strike 1 pitch is on the outside corner. So Clayton Richard leading 3-0, second inning. Richard looks down to Grandal, and the strike 2 pitch is in there at the knees. Strike 3 called. So Van Slyke goes down, 1 away, and the batter will be Juan Uribe. A reminder, Saturday, Dodgers celebrating the 1963 World Championship, hosting an old-timers game at 5:30 with former Dodger and Yankee greats. And be one of the first 40,000 fans, you'll receive a 1963 World Series replica ring. For information, visit Dodgers.com/oldtimers. Juan Uribe has a look at a pitch low. 1 ball and no strikes, they count. Uribe hitting .283, .393 with 3 home runs against Richard. And he takes a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Uribe followed by Skip Schumacher. Richard comes right back and misses outside. That runs the count. 2 balls, 1 strike. Clayton doesn't fool around. He pitches in a hurry. Now with a new ball, looks in to get a sign. The 2-1 pitch to Uribe is swung on and fouled off. 2-2 to count. Uribe waiting. Richard reading Grandal. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way, taken low, ball 3. Richard, when he was in high school, quarterbacked his high school team, earned a scholarship to the University of Michigan. There's a roller up the middle for a base hit for Juan Uribe. So Uribe slowly inching his way up to having a .290 batting average. He was hitting .283 before that hit. So a 1-out single to center. And the batter now, Skip Schumacher, who has a 10-game hitting streak. Schumacher batting .260. He has 10 runs batted in. Over that streak, Schumacher hitting .424, and he takes off the plate, ball 1. Schumacher 10 RBIs, no home runs. He has played second base, left field, center field, right field. He's been the DH. He's done quite a job. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and Schumacher lines it to left field. Coming up to grab it is Quinton, and back to first base goes Uribe. So the Dodger outs in the first inning. Gonzalez and Ramirez hit the ball hard. Now Schumacher hits a line drive to Quinton in left field. 2 down. And the batter will be Tim Fedorovich. Dodgers had a leadoff double by Yasiel Puig, if you weren't with us, but they left him at third. 3-0 San Diego. And here is Fedorovich, or FedEx as they call him. And the first pitch low, ball 1 to Tim. Fedorovich struggling at 161. Hit his first career home run Saturday in Colorado. Takes a look at the strike. So Clayton Richard. He'll be 30 in September. The 1-1 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled at the plate, and the count 1-2. Last year, Clayton Richard won 14 games. He was so close. Jake Peavy, the big winner back in 2007, won 15. But instead, Richard won 14, but he also lost 14. Fastball fouled away. When we were talking about Richard, the high school quarterback, and then went to the University of Michigan, but he competed against the future Dolphins quarterback Chad Henne during spring training. Didn't get a chance to play much, and that's when he decided, I think I had best concentrate on baseball. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball whacked to left field, down the line and gone. Home run for Tim Fedorovich with Uribe aboard, and the Padre lead is 3-2. So Fedorovich, his second career home run, and the Dodgers right back in the game. For Clayton Richard, in home runs allowed, that would be 11. Jason Marquis, who pitches tomorrow night, has given up 11. So it's a battle of home runs. So far the Padres lead 3-2, and the pitch to Lilly in the dirt, ball one. So FedEx delivered, and the Dodgers cut the Padre lead to 1. 3 runs, 3 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Lilly looks at a strike, and the count 1 ball, 1 strike. So the Padres have hit 50 home runs, and the Dodgers have now homered 41 times. Lilly, a chopper foul outside of third down the line. 1-2 the count. Richard, like Lilly, works from the third base side of the rubber, right on the edge of it. And the 1-2 pitch waved at and fouled away. Lilly just did get a little bit of that fastball away. There, if you're watching on TV, you can see that left foot just on the edge, third base side of the rubber. 1-2 pitch on the way, fastball slapped foul. So Lilly giving it his best shot up there. Ted is 0 for 4 this year and has struck out all 4 times. Last year, Richard allowed 31 home runs, most in the league. There's strike 3 to Ted. And remember, he pitched at Petco half the time. So FedEx delivers. The Dodgers get 2, and at the end of 2, we take another look as Tim hits it out, and the Padre lead is 3-2. Brought to you by the Jim Beam Bourbon Burger with bacon, onion straws, and pepper jack cheese, all slathered in Jim Beam Bourbon sauce, only at Carl's Jr. And by Six Flags. Go full throttle on the world's tallest, fastest looping coaster. Now open. Go big. Go Six Flags. Third inning, Padres 3, Dodgers 2, thanks to the home run by Tim Fedorovich. And into the third we go with Everett Cabrera. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, and takes low and inside, ball 1. Last week in May over in Arizona, he had a single, double, and home run but he missed the cycle. Couldn't come up with a triple. The 1-0 pitch, Cabrera, ground ball, sucked up nicely by Gonzalez. Takes it to the bag for the out. That ball was hit hard. So 1 out in the third, and Chase Headley coming up.
Chase Headley.
Headley switch hitting third baseman. In looking at his numbers, and we told you he was 0 for 16, had 1 hit to go 1 for 20. He's now 1 for 21. Into the windup is Lilly, comes to him off speed and high, ball 1. Headley hitting in the 250s left and hitting less than 200 right, and he means a great deal to them. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Chase, swung on, popped in the air. Fedorovich and Uribe, it will be Fedorovich. So Headley doesn't hang around. He fouls out to the Dodger catcher, and now Carlos Quentin coming up. Quentin single to left field in the first inning. Carlos, who had Tommy John surgery when he was in college in Stanford. Of course, being hit by the pitch, that is certainly part of his game. Right hand batter swings, hammers it down the left field line, but foul all the way deep in the lower deck, and the count 0-1. Last year, Quentin was hit 24 times, averaging being hit once every 20 plate appearances. He was hit 102 times in his career going into this year. So Quentin checks in at the plate. We'll take a look and see how many times he's been hit. 5 times this year. And he takes inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Quentin will be 31 in August. Signed by the Diamondbacks, first round 2003. Carlos takes high. A little banged up, ran into the wall. One of the reasons in the first game he appeared as a pinch hitter but never got to the plate. He's big. He's 6'1", 235. Here's the 2-1 pitch on the way. Quentin has a look at ball 3. When he was about 12 years old, Carlos was 5'9", 140 pounds. He also sported a mustache, and his mom and dad sympathized with parents who complained he was too big to play with their kid. He swings, doesn't get it, and the count 3-2. In fact, his mother said, "There's no way I'm going to let him play Little League. We're afraid he'd hurt somebody." Carlos Quentin lives in Chula Vista, born in Bellflower, graduated from San Diego's University High, and as you can imagine, with his build, not only played baseball, he was a running back, an outside linebacker. He was a small forward in basketball. In fact, he was the San Diego Male Athlete of the Year back in 2000. 3-2 pitch on the way to Carlos Quentin, swung on and popped up. Mark Ellis is calling. Hanley Ramirez lets him make the play, and down go the Padres. So at the end of 2.5 innings, Padres 3, Dodgers 2. Padres lead 3-2, bottom of the third inning. A reminder, the Dodgers will honor Hall of Famer Don Sutton Thursday at 7:10. First 50,000 fans in attendance receive a Don Sutton bobblehead. Compliments of Carl's Jr. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Clayton Richard has pitched defensively in the sense he's gotten a first pitch strike to only 2 of 9 hitters, and he'll be facing Yasiel Puig, who doubled in the first inning. Yasiel takes inside, ball 1, 1-0. The young Cuban lined a double into the right field corner for his first major league extra base hit. He runs up as if to bunt. We're looking at Laz Diaz. We'll assume it's a strike, and the count 1-1. When Puig got his first hit last night, Diaz was the first base umpire, and I'm sure he congratulated him. Laz is in the Cuban Hall of Fame. Well, I'm sure he could understand about Puig. 2-1 pitch, fastball hit to short. Up with it, there's Cabrera, and throws him out. 1 out in the third, and Mark Ellis coming up.
Second baseman, number 14, Mark Ellis.
With Puig doubling in the first inning, Ellis typically went the other way to make sure he could get Puig over to third. And then you had 2 guys who had unbelievable numbers against Richard. Gonzalez 8 for 10 and Ramirez 9 for 10. Both fellas hit the ball sharply but at people, and the Dodgers failed to get Puig home. Puig, however, might have scored on a ball hit by Gonzalez to Jed Jerko, but the youngsters stopped down the line and then retreated to the bag. Meanwhile, Mark Ellis with a count of 1-1 strike. The 1-1 pitch coming up to Mark Ellis. Clayton Richard delivers, fastball grounded to the left is short. Cabrera up with it, nails him. 2 down. Padres have had a very bad time against the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies have beaten San Diego all 6 games. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are hurting against 2 teams, Arizona and San Francisco. The Dodgers have lost 5 out of 6 to San Francisco and 5 out of 6 to Arizona. So you lose 10 of 12 to 2 teams in your division. You can understand why you are where you are. Adrian Gonzalez, first ball swinging, hits a fly ball, shallow center. Backing out for it is Jerko to make the catch. Right behind him was DeNorfia. So the Dodgers go quickly in the third inning. And at the end of 3, it's 3-2 San Diego. Puig became the 174th Cuban-born player to appear in the Major League. How many Cuban-born Major Leaguers have played for the Dodgers? Wow. Well, we'll give you the answer in a little while. Meanwhile, Jerko, Grandal, and Blanks. 3-2 Padres were in the fourth. Jerko fly deep to Schumacher in the first inning. Off speed for a strike. 0-1. Jed Jerko, 3 for 7 in that 17-inning marathon against Toronto. Way out in front. 0-2. At home, he's been even better than he has been on the road. 30 games at home. At Petco, he's hitting .336. See ya. So 3 pitches, down he goes. 1 out in the fourth. Second strikeout for Ted Lilly. Yasmani Grandal, big right-hand hitter, checking in. Grandal was very impressive last year, his rookie year. He wound up hitting .297, including 8 home runs, 36 runs batted in. Curveball, big beauty. 1-1. So Lilly, who struggled in the first 2 innings, made only 10 pitches in the third. 1-2. Grandal going after a pitch up out of the zone. 1-2 to Yasmani. I never thought Yasmani and Yasiel. Little roller to short. Nice hop for Hanley. 2 down. Kyle Blanks hit that 2-run home run in the second inning. Boy, that thing went in like a shot out of a bazooka, rattled around in the left field pavilion and then kicked out onto the field. Blanks hitting .272 with 4 home runs. 16 runs batted in. Doesn't like football. As big as he is, he said he doesn't even watch football on TV. 0-1. They've been very patient waiting for him, and it's been worth it. Now hitting .272. He was at Tucson at the start of the year. In the middle of April, they brought him up to go against Colorado. He's hitting .316 against left-handers. .414 with runners in scoring position. Even better than that, with a runner in scoring position and 2 out, he's batting .438. So he's arrived. Curveball, that's a strike. Big slow curve at 72 miles an hour. Well, deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 3-2 San Diego. Fastball just off the plate. Lilly trying to make it 9 in a row, and he goes all the way with Kyle Blanks. Time. And missed him, trying to get that inside corner. So after retiring 8 in a row, he walks Blanks, and he will face Guzman.
First baseman number 15, Jesus Guzman.
For Ted Lilly, that would be the second walk that he's given up. Guzman fly to center in the second inning, 0 for 1. Guzman is used as a pinch hitter a lot. He and Mark Kotsay. Kotsay, the left-hander, as a pinch hitter is 6 for 20. That's 300. Guzman, the right-handed pinch hitter, 3 for 20. Kyle Blanks taking a lead. Adrian Gonzalez not on the bag, then retreats. Slow curveball for a strike. Lilly's 188 stolen bases allowed are 5th most amongst active pitchers, 99th all time. The active leader is A.J. Burnett, 284. But you know, the all-time leader, that might surprise you. Curveball missed. The all-time leader, stolen bases allowed, 757 stolen bases. And the pitcher, Nolan Ryan. Two and 1. Fouled off, 2 and 2. Three runs, 3 hits for the Padres. Home runs by Denorfia and Blanks. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Home run by Fedorovich with a man aboard. Blanks directly behind Gonzalez at first. In the dirt. 3 and 2. You have the pitcher Clayton Richard on deck. Lilly has beaten San Diego 3 straight. He has a record of 5-1 against them here, and he is 11-4 lifetime against the Padres. But he's also looking for his first win of the year. Three and 2 with 2 out, so Blanks will be rumbling. There he goes. And the ball hit into right field. Puig will have to play it on a bounce. He doesn't have a play, but he throws it to third. It gets away. Hesitating and now scoring is Blanks. Lilly tried to back up and went down. Well, we can take another look at that play as Blanks goes from first to third. He's such a big target. Puig coming up, takes it on a hop, and then guns it with that superb arm. And the ball and the runner arrived at the same time. Lilly then collided with Blanks, and Lilly fell down, and the run comes in. Tough play for Uribe, trying to handle the ball, and a guy 6'6", 285. First of all, blocks you, and then he knocks down Lilly. So it is 4-2 San Diego. They have to explain the scoring, and so they will give Puig an error. Breaking ball off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. So Guzman is single to right. Blanks goes to third. Scores on the collision in the error. Guzman goes to second on the throw. So for Puig, he's filling out his form in just about every department. He has a major league hit. He has 3 of them. He has an extra base hit. He had the assist last night to finish the game. Now he commits an error. The one thing he might have and should have but didn't is scoring a run in the first inning. A flare into left field. That's going to land. Base hit. Van Slyke backhands, throws high, and no play at the plate. Down to second goes Richard, and it is 5-2 San Diego. So Richard, a base hit to left and a run batted in. Guzman scores, and on the high throw, that allows Richard to go to second with a great leaping catch by Fedorovich. Otherwise, that thing goes to the backstop. So with 2 out, a walk, 2 singles, and a throwing error, Padres have scored twice and lead 5-2. For San Diego, 5 runs, 5 hits. Still 2 out, and Chris DeNorfia, who homered and popped up, coming up. When the Dodgers bat in the bottom of the 4th inning, they'll have Ramirez, Van Slyke, and Uribe. In a moment, we'll have action in the Dodger bullpen. Matt Guerrier gets up and will begin to throw. Meanwhile, Honeycutt going out to talk to Lilly. Ted gave up the home run to DeNorfia and a base hit to Quinton. Then gave up a walk to Grandal and a home run to Blanks. Then suddenly looked like he found himself. He retired 8 in a row, and then pitching carefully to Blanks, walking. And that led to 2 more singles, an error, 2 runs, and a Padre 5-2 lead. So it's amazing how things will turn on you in a hurry as DeNorfia waits for his 3rd at bat. Chris hitting .302, homered on the 2nd pitch of the game to give him 3. 17 runs batted in. So Clayton Richard is at second base. DeNorfia trying to pick him up. .74 pitches made by Lilly. Ted ready. Curveball, foul back. 0-1 to count. DeNorfia hitting .302. Doing a great job for the Padres wherever they play him. And he's trying to pick up Richard from second base with 2 out. 0-1. One and 1 to count. Dodgers have been playing pretty well at home. They had won 8 of the last 11. Adrian Gonzalez and company finally, by winning last night, reached the 500 level. They're 15-15 at home. 1-1 pitch on the way. Ball 2. 2-1. To repeat, Ramirez, Van Slyke, and Uribe due up in the bottom of the 4th. Curveball. 2-2. Lilly has struck out 2, walked 2, and given up 5 hits and 5 runs. Fastball, but low. So Ted goes 3-2. That was his problem with Kyle Blanks. Pitched carefully, went 3-2 and walked him, and that started it all as Cabrera waits on deck. So down goes DeNorfia on a high fastball, but not before the Padres pick up 2, and at the end of 3.5 innings lead the Dodgers 5-2. To Yasiel Puig, patted him on the back, trying to make him feel a little bit more at home. Okay. And now they shake hands, get a little hug. Welcome to the club. Meanwhile, Clayton Richard now finds himself leaving for 5-2. Hanley Ramirez, Scott Van Slyke, and Juan Uribe. Hanley Ramirez hit the ball right on the button. He hit a bullet, and it was one-handed by Everett Cabrera, the shortstop, to take a base hit and a run batted in away from him. Strike. 0-1. So Hanley has come back. It took him quite a time to get back here. Remember, he was supposed to go to winter ball and play shortstop. Line drive right into Richard's glove. Whoa. So they've gotten Ramirez twice. He was 9 for 10 against Richard. He's 0 for 2 tonight on 2 bullets. So Ramirez, a comebacker right at Clayton Richard. So 1 out in the 4th. Boy, I'll bet that thing stung. A big whew from Clayton Richard. Now Scott Van Slyke, who struck out in the 2nd inning. Right. 5-2 San Diego. That's popped up. Going out and coming in. Jerko out, Blanks there. 2 down. Juan Uribe singled to center in the 2nd inning and rode home on the home run by Tim Fedorovich. Uribe really coming alive with the bat, hitting .290. 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. On deck, Skip Schumacher. And that's lifted to Blanks. So it's a 1-2-3 inning, 7 in a row retired by Richard. And at the end of 4, Padres 5, Dodgers 2. You by Chevrolet, find new roads. And by Sports Authority, the official sporting goods retailer of the Los Angeles Dodgers. The starting pitchers, Richard and Lilly, are still in there. Lilly has given up 5 runs. Richard has given up 2. Both pitchers have been hit hard. Richard's been a little bit fortunate in the sense several balls hit at people, including one that almost took his head off. So Lilly going to work against Cabrera, Headley, and Quinton, and the Dodgers pull up the corners. Cabrera bunts. Down to get it is Lilly, whirls and throws it into right field. So even though the Dodgers were looking bunt, Cabrera lays down a dandy. So a leadoff single by Cabrera. Lilly making one of those I hope I know where the target is, and it wasn't in the neighborhood. So a bunt single for Cabrera. He's 1 for 3. 5 runs, 6 hits for San Diego. And now Headley, Quinton, and Jerko coming up. Time for the moment now. Let's see. They're going to make a move right here and now. I don't know whether Lilly is suffering ill effects. Remember, Kyle Blanks knocked him flat trying to score, and actually Lilly was in the wrong place anyway. If you're going to back up third on a throw from the right fielder, you have to be well beyond the coaching box backing up third. Instead, he was caught almost near the coaching box, and Blanks flattened it. So Ted has to come out, and we'll be back. And Lilly was hollering, "Cut it, cut it." So he never went to back up third, and then he runs right into a truck named Kyle Blanks. So it was a bad night for Ted Lilly all around. Headley now turns around to back left-handed. Curveball for a strike. Luis Cruz is at third base. He will bat ninth. Guerrier will go in Uribe spot, since Uribe made the last out in the 4th inning. Matt with a record of 1-2. So Ted Lilly bundled up, disappointed, sitting in the dugout. 0-1. There goes Cabrera. The pitch outside, the throw on the wrong side. So Cabrera steals another base. He leads the league in stolen bases. He now has stolen 24 out of 29. In fact, he leads the majors with the 24 stolen bases. So Headley now trying to pick him up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Headley Hitting .255 from this side of the plate, less than 200 right-handed. 1-2. Headley, a terrific player who was certainly a one-man gang last year. He led the Padres all year. Last year, Chase Headley won a Gold Glove at third. He had 31 home runs. He was #1 in RBIs with 115. Trying to pick up Cabrera at second. Off speed, lifted to left field, playable. Van Slyke is there. Cabrera gag and then holds on. So Headley, a lazy fly ball to left, one away. Cabrera still at second, and Carlos Quentin. Quentin single to left and popped up. 1-4-2. Although Quentin is hitting only .234, he has scored at least one run, 7 of the last 12. Comebacker right by Guerrier, fielded, knocked down, and Cabrera is going to hold at third. So Guerrier had the play, but it got away. Ramirez, by knocking it down, prevents the run, but it'll go as a base hit. So right by Guerrier, Ramirez slaps at it. Cabrera holds, and with one out, the batter will be Jed Jerko. 5 runs, 7 hits for San Diego. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Padres. Quentin is 2 for 3 at first base. Jerko fly deep to center and struck out. Big slider, ball 1. Padres scored a run in the first. Each team scored 2 in the second, and the Padres scored 2 more in the fourth. Fastball fouled away. Fastball at 90. So Jed Jerko with a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Mountaineer out of West Virginia. He has Cabrera at third, Quentin at first. 1-2. Bud Black with his ball club right at home here at Dodger Stadium. They've won 5 of the last 6. They've beaten the Dodgers 4 out of 7 this year. 1-2 to Jerko. Chased a bad ball and strikes out. Second time Jerko has struck out. He is 0 for 3 tonight. First strikeout for Guerrier. And the batter will be Yasmani Grandal. Grandal is walked and grounded out. Two down, runners at the corners. Off speed for ball 1. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 5th inning, Schumacher, Fedorovich, and Cruz. One ball and no strikes. 1-1. Big Kyle Blanks waiting on deck. Blanks already a 2-run home run and then collided with Lilly and scored. Line drive. That hit Guerrier. He might be hurt. He throws him out. Wow. I think that got him on the hand. Well, we will find out about Matt Guerrier, but he took a hard lick on that one. Take another look, especially the right hand. And then Matt stayed with it, got his man. 5-2 San Diego. We'll get a report on Matt Guerrier. Boy, he took a lick. Being the competitor that he is, he made the play. But when he went back into the dugout, he went right down the steps and back to the clubhouse. So we hope that Guerrier is okay. Schumacher, meanwhile, 0 for 1 with a 10-game hitting streak. And ball 1. Hit the ball hard in the second inning and lined out. Two and 0 the count. Down in the Dodger bullpen, they get Ronald Belisario up. So that sounds like Matt Guerrier is not going to continue pitching. I'm not sure if Guerrier got it on the leg, but I think he also got it on the hand. But he was a banged up pitcher who walked off. Richard dodged a bullet. Remember that line drive by Hanley Ramirez that he caught? That's a strike. Here's another look at Matt Guerrier. That ball's coming back. He got him all over the place, really. Fastball, little nubber. Out to get it is Grandal and makes the throw in time. 2-3. One away.
Catcher, number 18, Tim Fedorovich.
So Grandal makes a good play. Just did nip him at first. So Schumacher with that 10-game streak on the line, and the batter Fedorovich, who homered in the second inning. Ball 1. Ted Lilly started, made 81 pitches. Matt Guerrier made 13 pitches in the fifth inning. Clayton Richard, meanwhile, ably supported by Kyle Blank's 2-run home run, plus Blank's collision while he scored in the fourth inning. Chris Denorfia led off the game with a home run. And there's a base hit for Fedorovich. So the young Dodger catcher is a home run and a single. And the batter will be Luis Cruz.
Luis Cruz.
Dodgers have 2 runs, 4 hits. Cruz just came in batting 120 with a home run, 5 runs batted in. On deck, Yasiel Puig. And ball 1. One ball and no strikes. And ball 2. 1 out, 5th inning. 5-2 San Diego. Grandal out to talk to Clayton Richards. Now Darren Balsley coming out to talk to the pitcher. He's made 56 pitches and really has only had 1 tough inning. That was the 2nd inning when he made 22 pitches. The last 2 innings, he made 8 pitches in the 3rd and 5 pitches in the 4th. So Cruz with the count his way, 2 balls and no strikes. Fedorovich at first, 1 out. 5-2 San Diego. Padres here tomorrow night. Jason Marquis and Clayton Kershaw. And then here come the Braves. 3-0. Dodgers figure to have their hands full. The Braves have won 35 games, 3 straight, leading in the East by 7 games. And there's ball 4. So all of a sudden, Yasiel Puig is coming up, representing the potential tying run. We have a minute. We'll answer the trivia question. 174 Cuban-born players in the majors. How many Cuban-born major leaguers have played for the Dodgers? Well, you are something if you remember 9 of them. All right, here's Puig. He doubled into the right field corner in the 1st inning and grounded to short in the 3rd. Tyson Ross, a right-hander, is now up in the San Diego pen. And a high fly ball into deep left center. Havana, Cuba has arrived. And we have a 5-5 tie. You know, before the ball game, Mike Suarez, the scout who scouted Puig, told us that Puig told him he would hit a home run for him tonight. I'll be darned. Boy, he got all of it, and he and Cruz do a little celebration. So he's done a lot. Now let's see. He's got a base hit. That was a single. Then he had an extra base hit, a double. Then he had an assist. Then he had a big home run, and he also had a throwing error. Yasiel Puig in capital letters, and we have a 5-5 tie. Hooray for Hollywood. 5 runs, 7 hits for San Diego. 5 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Puig now with a double and a 3-run home run. An object loose in right field, so timeout for the moment. Yasiel Puig probably saying to himself, I've got to pinch myself to believe this is really happening. And he's a long way from Chattanooga. Last night he comes up with 2 singles a huge game-saving play. And tonight, a double and a game-tying 3-run home run. Take another look. And he got all of it. Halfway up the pavilion. Look at the Dodgers. Well, he's 6'3" and about 245. He'll bust a few. They say that ball went 439 feet. Marked down from 440. Take a good look. He might be here a while. And Bud Black knows that his pitcher is not going to be here anymore. Clayton Richard can't get out of the 5th inning. If you remember one of the notes we gave you, he is averaging a little more than 4 innings a start. And tonight, sure enough, he goes 4 1/3. He goes out tied. However, a possible winning run at first, his responsibility. And we'll be right back. Go with a record of 0-1, but a very good earned run average of 2.2. So Ross picking up the pieces for Clayton Richard. And the huge home run. Yasiel Puig gets the Dodgers even. Puig and Mitch Poole leaving the dugout for whatever reason as Ross begins to heat up. Tyson Ross will be facing Gonzalez and Ramirez. He's from Berkeley, California, went to the University of California, and makes his home in Oakland. He's big. He's 6'6", 230-pounder, and was originally drafted by the Oakland A's in 2008 and came up to the A's in 2010 briefly. Then came back up again in 11 and 12 and moved over to San Diego this year. He grew up in Oakland playing baseball just down the road from the Coliseum. In fact, his parents had a baseball card made of him when he was 4, wearing an Athletics jersey with a big A on the cap, and it came to be. Adrian Gonzalez, a one-hopper to second and popped up 0 for 2. Mark Ellis at first. 5-5 in the 5th. One ball and one strike. Adrian, 8 home runs, 42 runs batted in. Two and 1. Ross came to the Padres in a deal with the A's. Fastball, a cutter, curveball, slider, and a change. Slider's probably his best pitch. Fastball, and he hits 92. checking Ross's number. It's now 38, but when he first signed, he loved the number 66, which is worn by Puig. Line drive down the right field line in the corner. Ellis is on his way to third. They will hold him at third on the long double by Adrian Gonzalez. So for Adrian Gonzalez to hook a double down the right field line, that would be his 12th double. And the Dodgers in business, second and third, one out, and Hanley Ramirez coming up. Ramirez can't hit the ball much harder than he's hit it tonight, and he's 0 for 2. He hit a line drive that was feared by Cabrera, and then last time up almost took Clayton Richards' head off. You have Van Slyke on deck, first base open, and a high drive into right center. On the run at the track to make the catch is Blanks. Tagging up to score is Ellis. And the Dodgers down 5-2, now lead 6-5. So Hanley picks up the RBI to break the tie. Scott Van Slyke now coming up with 2 out. Gonzalez at second base, and the Dodgers leading 6-5. That run is charged to Richard. Ball 1. Scotty is struck out and flied to right. Down and dirty. Andre Ethier now coming out on deck. Remember, Matt Guerrero's spot was in Uribe's spot in the double switch. So Ronald Belisario heating up in the pen. Fouled away. Pretty good fastball at 94. Dodgers 6 runs, 6 hits. Padres 5 runs, 7 hits. Carl Crawford, Juan Uribe, Yasiel Puig, all chatting in the corner. There's ball 3. Chris Capuano had to go on the DL for the second time. Puig talking to Luis Cruz. Dodgers have used the DL 15 times. 18 players have gone on the list. 3-1 to Van Slyke. Fouled away. Ross throwing hard at 94. Van Slyke fighting them off. Tomorrow night, Jason Marquis and Clayton Kershaw. Final game of the 3-game series with San Diego. And then we begin a 4-game series with the Atlanta Braves. Freddie Freeman, Jason Hayward, the Upton boys. And strike 3. They're going to break the news to Scotty. He can't believe it. And the inning is over. However, Puig does it. Just another sentence in the fairy tale that is Yasiel Puig. A towering home run to get 3 in a hurry. And the Dodgers added to that to lead 6-5. Turn the clock back to 1964. Dodgers were in Philadelphia. Sandy Koufax pitching against the Phillies. Koufax struck out 12, did not allow a hit, walked 1. The man he walked was Dick Allen, who was thrown out trying to steal. Sandy wound up pitching and facing only 27 batters. Meanwhile, let's go back and continue the Yasiel Puig story. Dodgers rearranging the outfield. Skip Schumacher, who started the game in center, has moved over to left. Andre Ethier is now in center. And the new pitcher is Ronald Belisario. We hope we get a report on Matt Guerrier. More importantly, we hope Matt's okay. Belisario pitching to Kyle Blanks. Roller up the middle. Ramirez behind the bag. Can't make the play. Jumping in the air and overthrowing first. That'll go as a base hit. So Blanks is having a big night. He has walked, singled to short, hit a 2-run home run. And the batter will be Jesus Guzman. Six to 5 in favor of the Dodgers. Guzman flied to center, single to right, scored a run. Padres led 1-0, 3-0, 3-2, 5-2, and the Dodgers scored 4 times in the 5th inning to take the lead 6-5. Guzman with a home run, 8 runs batted in. 0-1. 0-2. It's still hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, about Yasiel Puig coming up representing a potential tying run, and then he just hits a 3-run home run to tie up the game. Still 0-2. And as we said before the game, Mike Suarez told us that Puig had told him, "I'm going to hit a home run for you." Well, he picked the right time. (0-2) to Guzman. Line drive, fair ball right on the chalk. Schumacher over to get it. Blanks going into third on a double by Guzman, who's 2 for 3. So this game is in direct contrast to last night's game, where the Dodgers won 2-1, 5 double plays. Now this one, a roll up your sleeve slug away game. 6 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 5 runs, 9 hits for the Padres. We've had 4 home runs, and we're only in the 6th inning. Here's Tyson Ross. And he fouls it off. Safety squeeze. Blanks was not coming. Ross checking again with Hoffman. They have a half a dozen bunt singles, and then they got one tonight. So the Padres have 7 bunt singles this year. 0-1 to Ross. And that's missed. 0-2. Can't help but thinking what goes through the mind of a young catcher like Tim Fedorovic. You're in a crouch behind the plate. You got the hitter trying to bunt. And you have big Kyle Blanks coming down the line from third. 0-2. And he foul tipped the bunt and strikes out. That's only the first out, and the batter will be DeNorfia.
Center fielder, Chris DeNorfia.
Chris DeNorfia homered, popped up, and struck out. Hitting .300. Down in the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell begins to warm up. Blanks and Guzman taking their leads. So Belisario in some trouble. Ball one. DeNorfia has put up some big numbers against left-hand pitching. With runners in scoring position, he's hitting .389. Fouled away. One ball and one strike. Even tougher with runners in scoring position and 2 out. DeNorfia is hitting .476. 1-1. 2-1. 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Dodgers scored 4 in the bottom of the 5th to take a 6-5 lead. Padres with 1 out have runners at second and third here in the 6th. And a fly ball to center, almost like a knuckleball, drops for the hit. 1 run will score. Over to third goes Guzman, and we have a 6-6 tie. Boy, that ball acted strangely going out towards center. So DeNorfia with a single to center. I don't know if he hit it off the end of the bat, and you can't see it on TV, but it wobbled. So DeNorfia comes up with his second hit and his second run batted in. We have a 6-6 tie. The batter will be the switch hitter, Everett Cabrera. Now, J.P. Howell is in the Dodger bullpen. So if you bring in Howell, you turn Cabrera around. But Cabrera is hitting .333 right-handed, .252 left. And let's see if Mattingly's going to turn him around. Yep. So Cabrera will immediately go back, get a different helmet and bat, and we'll be right back. We're on the driver's side. We have a wild one going on at Dodger Stadium, a 6-6 tie in the 6th inning. The Dodgers have used Lilly, Guerrier, Belisario, and now Howell. The Padres have used Richard and Ross. Padres have runners at first and third. They've already tied it up. Guzman at third, DeNorfia at first, and the switch hitting Everett Cabrera coming up.
Shortstop number 2, Everett Cabrera.
So Cabrera, the switch hitter, first of all had to go and get a right-hand hitting helmet and a different bat. Interesting, on paper, he's a much better hitter right-handed. But they opt to turn him around to hit right-handed against Howell. First and third, one out. Cabrera, a very good bunter, bunted for a base hit in the fifth inning. Padres have 7 bunt singles this year. So Howell very busy with runners at the corners. And the bunt foul, and coming down the line from third was Guzman. So they had the safety squeeze with Ross, but Cabrera is a much better runner and bunter, and Guzman started down the line. Cabrera checking to see if it's on again. So as you can see, at least on paper, you're playing into his hand. 0-1. And he bunts. They have no play, and the bases are loaded. There was nobody covering second. 2 Dodgers are standing at third. So Cabrera gets a bunt down, and with no play, we'll assume he gets a base hit. It would be his second bunt single. Both Hanley Ramirez and Luis Cruz race to third, and Fedorovich has no place to throw it. Well, Fedorovich is saying, okay, you tell me where to throw it. It was too late even for Ellis to cover. So it's another bunt single for Cabrera. The bases are loaded with 1 out for Chase Headley. Infield back in double play depth. Ground ball down to Ellis. The feed for 1, and they double him at first. Dodgers out of the jam, give up 1, and at the end of 5.5 innings, we have a 6-6 tie. Don't forget, bring the kids to Dodger Stadium Sunday. The first 15,000 ticketed kids 14 and under take home their own compression sleeve, just like the players wear. Compliments of Wetzel's Pretzels. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Andre Ethier will start it off. Then Schumacher and Fedorovich. Andre hitting .237. He has 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in. Then Schumacher. Then Fedorovich. Andre hitting .237. That's a strike. 0-1. He has 4 home runs, 15 runs batted in. And popped up. It will be Jerko. So 1 out in the 6th inning.
Next, left fielder, number 3.
Schumacher has lined out and was thrown out by Grandal when he dribbled one up along first. Skip with a 10-game hitting streak, and behind him, Tim Fedorovich. Tyson Ross picking up for Clayton Richard. Ball 1. One and one. If you joined us late, I'm sorry. Otherwise, you would have shared in the excitement. In the 5th inning, Yasiel Puig hit a 3-run home run to tie up the game. Two and one. Que viva Cuba, viva Puig. 3-1. Two singles, a double, a home run, an error, a run scored, put out, assist. He's done almost everything in 2 games. If you missed it, be our guest. Take another look. And I mean, he walloped it a good halfway or more up the pavilion in left center. And the club reacted. So he wears 66 as he sits alongside Adrian Gonzalez. It's a 6-6 game. And the throw gets away. Schumacher on his way to second, and he will hold. So the Dodgers now with a runner in scoring position. So Tyson Ross will draw the error. Schumacher at second base, puzzled look. Bud Black hollering out to the first base umpire, Tim Timmons. One ball and no strikes. Fedorovich hit a 2-run home run in the 2nd inning and singled in the 5th. 2-0. Luis Cruz gesturing to somebody in the Dodger dugout about Tyson Ross and the movement of the pitch. 2-0. 2-1. Fedorovic hitting .212, 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. Homered in Colorado and then homered tonight. Foul back. 2-2. Big scramble for the foul ball upstairs and the reaction of the crowd. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Padres. 6 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers with a tiebreaker in Schumacher out there at second base. Kyle Blanks, a big man, has had a walk, a single, a home run. Denorfia has had a single and a home run. And they're all locked in at 6. And Puig. And then there is Puig. Three and 2. Fedorovic couldn't afford to take that pitch, borderline with 2 strikes. He was just protecting himself. Tyson Ross going at 94 in relief of Clayton Richards. Check, but it's going to cost him anyway. Slider got him. Fedorovic strikes out. 2 down. And Luis Cruz coming up.
Number 47, Luis Cruz.
Luis Cruz walked in the 5th inning, and it turned out to be a big walk. Put runners at first and second. It brought up Yasiel Puig, and Puig hit the home run to tie it up. Yasiel waiting on deck. Right, 0-1. Cruz batting .120 with a home run and 5 runs batted in. Tyson Ross with a record of 0-1 in his 13th game. Ground. Foul ball. I'm waiting for the third base umpire, Mark Wegner. He took a good long look and then indicated foul. Right down the line. And you can watch the umpire now. Foul ball. Oh, and 2 to Luis. In the dirt, nice block by Grandal. Again tomorrow night, Jason Marquez and Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw 5-3 with that great earned run average of 1.8. Marquez 6-2 with an earned run average of 3.8. 1-2. 2-2. So it's a big at bat for Cruz, trying to extend the inning with Puig waiting on deck, wearing the score. Ross wore 66 as a kid and wore it when he was with the A's. And line down the right field line, in there in the corner. So Cruz on his way to a double. Scoring is Schumacher, and the Dodgers lead 7-6. So Tyson gives up the run, and Yasiel Puig coming up. Opened up the game with a double to right. Brings a .571 batting average with a home run and 3 RBIs. Cruz not only extended the inning, doubles in the run, his first of the year, and the Dodgers lead 7-6. And ball one. Fly ball to deep right, blanks to the track. It is gone. He has hit another one. Que viva Cuba. Viva Puig. And it's 8-6 Dodgers. Can you believe it? That's 5 RBIs for him tonight. Dodgers now lead with a 3-run inning, 9-6. They want him to take a curtain call. He takes a quick one. What a story this is. Yasiel Puig. I remember a long time ago, the New York Giants in spring training had an outfielder, and the Giants were touring in the Southwest, and the stories about that outfielder in spring training were unbelievable. And what made it really great for the writers, the outfielder was from Hondo, Texas. So, of course, that name captured the imagination of everybody. His name was Clint Hartung, and he came up with the Giants, and they just thought he was going to be the greatest thing that ever happened. He hung out for about 6 years with the Giants, never played more than 40 some odd games. Most home runs he ever hit in a season was 4. He was used as a pinch runner in that famous game when Bobby Thompson hit the home run. So I thought of Hondo in spring training when I was reading all the reports about Puig. But Hondo never did what Puig has done tonight. And it's 9-6 Dodgers. A double and 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Two and 2. Got him. Inside corner. Down goes Mark. But the Dodgers have scored 7 runs in the last 2 innings. Yasiel Puig has knocked in 5 of the 7. Homer to left, homer to right, and the Dodgers lead 9-6. ovation. Marvelous moment for a young fellow who came out of nowhere and has 2 home runs, a double, 5 runs batted in. And the Dodgers, thanks to his heroics, lead 9-6. Carlos Quentin followed by Jed Jerko and then Yasmani Grandal. Quentin single to left, popped up and singled in the 5th inning. 4-1. 9 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers, 6 runs, 11 hits for the Padres. And a high fly ball to left center, and the Dodgers now looking at a home run. So Quentin comes up with his 3rd hit. That makes it 9-7. For Carlos Quentin to reach the seats, and they throw the ball back, of course. Quentin now 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Howell serves it up, and it is gone. Hard to believe it's the same 2 teams. Last night 2-1, tonight 9-7. 4-1. Padres have hit 3 home runs. Dodgers have hit 3 home runs. So we've had 6 home runs tonight, and they had 5 double plays last night. That chant, by the way, that we have switched, in case you wonder. Years ago, the Dodgers were training in Florida, and it was raining. And it rained for several days in a row. And Walter O'Malley was afraid the Dodgers were idle and they were going to get out of shape. They'd lose the edge. So he got his plane, got the Cincinnati Reds, and he flew the Dodgers and the Reds to Havana, Cuba. This was just the time when Fidel Castro had taken over Cuba. And wherever you went, way back when, you heard Que viva Cuba, viva Fidel. So we've decided, poetic license, to say Que viva Cuba, viva Puig.
Catcher number 12, Yasmani Grandal.
1 away, and Grandal coming up. For Jerko, that's the 3rd time that he struck out tonight, so he's had a tough evening. Grandal has walked, grounded out twice, 0 for 2. One ball and no strikes. Dodgers 9, Padres 7. 7th inning. Off the plate. Two and 0. And that's popped up. Let's see. Cruz, the 3rd baseman, is calling.
Batting next, right fielder Kyle Blanks.
Kyle Blanks hit a 2-run home run, walked and scored, singled and got as far as 3rd. Big guy scored 3, hitting .280, bidding for a perfect night. And popped up. Mark Ellis. Home run by Quentin, and we're heading to the bottom of the 7th. 9-7 Dodgers. Your Southern California Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a luxurious Lexus today. For more information, visit Lexus.com. By This Is the End, in theaters June 12th. And by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa, good times. Dodgers take a 9-7 lead into the bottom of the 7th inning, and they'll have Adrian Gonzalez, Hanley Ramirez to start it off. Gonzalez doubled in the 5th inning. Ball 1. Grounded out hard and popped up in the other 2 at-bats. Hitting .326, 8 home runs, 42 runs batted in. In there. Dodgers at the 500 mark at home, and it took a lot to get there. They've won 8 of the last 11 games they played at home. And base hit to left field. So Adrian goes 2 for 4. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen begins to warm up. Hanley Ramirez has lined out to short, hit a line drive that fortunately Clayton Richard caught, and then last time up had a scoring fly ball, a sacrifice fly to right center field. And a strike. Last night we had 37,055. Tonight we have 37,544. One ball and one strike. Gonzalez with his base hit at first. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Ramirez. 1-2. Hanley, after a couple of rehabs, played 6 innings the last time out. Nick Punto is on deck. He'll be batting for Howell. 1-2. Slider got him. So Ramirez strikes out. 1 out in the 7th. That's a good pitch that Ross has, and he throws hard enough to complement it with that fastball. So Nick Punto batting for Howell to make way for Kenley Jansen. Nick Punto batting .301 with a home run, 10 runs batted in. On deck, Andre Ethier. Ball 1. Padres led 1-0, 3-0, 3-2, 5-2. Dodgers led 6-5. Then it was 6-6. Then it was Dodgers 9-6. And it's Dodgers 9-7. Punto's fly ball with Quinton at the other end of it. And Andre Ethier will be coming up with Gonzalez at first. And of course the big story, and it just keeps growing. Yasiel Puig doubled in the first inning, and 2 home runs tonight and 5 runs batted in as he talks to Juan Uribe. Matt Guerrier, we worried he was hit on the hand. And the good news is x-rays on the right thumb were negative. But he got banged up pretty hard. They're going to go and bring in Alexi Amarista, and it looks like they're about ready to also make a pitching change. Tommy Lane will be coming in, and we'll be back. Yearly prices. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. So visit MLB.TV today. Baseball everywhere. Couple of changes. Alexi Amarista takes over in center field. Chris DeNorfia moves over in right. And the new pitcher is Tommy Lane. Tommy Lane, left-hander out of St. Louis, Missouri. Went to Mount Olive College in North Carolina and was originally drafted by Arizona. Ball one. 6'3", 185, working on Andre Ethier, who's hitting .235. One ball and no strikes. 1-1. Nine runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. 7 runs, 12 hits for the Padres. Sidearm fastball up and in. Boy, that'll give you a jelly leg. 2-1. Basically, he throws fastball, cutter, curve, and change. Over the top, 2-2. When Lane first got to the big leagues, the man he talked to was Luke Gregerson. Gregerson said, go out and throw strikes. 2-2. And there goes the runner. The breaking ball is strike 3 called, and that's the inning. So Ethier strikes out. No runs, a hit, a man left. And we are heading for the 8th. 9-7 Dodgers. Puig has really played a major part in tonight's drama. He hit a home run to tie up the game with 2 men aboard in the 5th inning, and then he unloaded the other way into right field with a man aboard. So he has a double, 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and the crowd has been absolutely ecstatic over his performance, especially the good folks in right field who've saluted him twice as he ran back to his position. So 9-7 Dodgers, 8th inning. Guzman, Amarista, and Denorfia against Kenley Jansen. Jansen made 17 pitches in pitching the 8th inning last night. Gave up a base hit, but he also struck out 2. And he's dropped back in the fire to face Guzman. Right. Guzman flied to center, single to right and scored, double the left. Oh, and 2. Guzman 0 for 2 in the past against Kenley Jansen. One and 2 the count. So last night, 5 double plays, a quick 2-1 game. Tonight a Pier 6 brawl. 9-7 Dodgers in the 8th. Got it. So Guzman strikes out, 1 away. Just a reminder of the next 5 Dodger games. Padres here tomorrow night on Prime, and that will be Jason Marquis and Clayton Kershaw. And then on the weekend, 4 with the Atlanta Braves, who have already won 35 games, all of them on Prime ticket, Thursday through Sunday afternoon. And then for good measure, there'll be 3 more with Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, they're in St. Louis. They have a 6-6 tie, and they're in the 14th inning. D-backs led 6-3, but the Cards scored 1 in the 5th, 6th, and 7th to tie it up. 0-2 to Alexi Amarista. Amarista hitting .265. Four home runs, 15 runs batted in for him. Amarista last night had a single and a double, scored a run. Colorado beat Cincinnati 5-4, and the Giants edged Toronto 2-1. One and 2 to Amarista. And a flare into left field, inches above Cruz's glove. So Amarista gets the base hit with 1 out, and the batter will be Chris Denorfia. Denorfia checking with Glenn Hoffman as Fedorovich goes to the mound. Amarista does not have a stolen base. He's over there at first, held on by Adrian Gonzalez. You would think, considering all of his other abilities, that'd be a big base stealing threat. Actually, his high stolen bases in the big leagues. 8. DeNorfia homered, popped up, struck out, singled. Chris with 3 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Ball 1. Dave Roberts out of the coaching box to talk to Amarista. 1 ball and no strikes. Ground ball backhanded by Hanley. They get 1. They get 2. What a play by Hanley Ramirez to start the double play. 6-4-3, no runs, a hit, nobody left. Backhanded on the knee to Mark Ellis to Gonzalez. We're heading to the 8th, 9-7 Dodgers. Padres a possible inning, and it's going to cost the manager because Tim Timmons, the first base umpire, has ejected Bud Black for arguing on that play. 6-4-3 double play. Hanley got it over to Mark Ellis. Very close at first, right there. And Timmons was also right there to make the call. You can look at the body language of Dave Roberts to indicate just how close it was. So Bud Black is gone. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning. Dodgers lead 9-7. And it'll be Schumacher, Fedorovich, and Cruz. And if anybody gets on, Yasiel Puig. Fastball strike. Tommy Lane out of St. Louis, Missouri. They asked him, what would you be if you weren't a ball player? And he said, a firefighter. Breaking ball misses. 2-1. Schumacher had a 10-game hitting streak. He lined out to left, grounded out, and walked. Ground ball by the diving Headley into left field. That should be a base hit to extend his streak to 11. It also adds a little spice to the inning because it means that Puig might come up one more time. Just under Chase's glove. The Schumacher a single left. For the Dodgers, they have 9 runs on 10 hits. Padres 7 runs, 13 hits. Jansen made 10 pitches to finish the Padres off in the 8th. And ball 1. I can't help but thinking how amazing it is. I mean, he's only in his 2nd game, and we're already thinking Well, with that base hit, that could very well mean that we'll see Puig one more time in the 8th inning. I can remember saying that about Henry Aaron, Ralph Kiner, big home run hitters. He just got here. Brandon Lee throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Uh-oh, there's the double play ball. Well, maybe we won't see Puig. 2 down, and it's up to Luis Cruz to extend it.
Third baseman, Luis Cruz.
Cruz walked in the 5th inning, and Puig homered. Cruz doubled in the 6th inning, and Puig homered. So Luis hitting 129. Breaking ball, strike. When the Padres come up in the 9th inning, by the way, Cabrera, Headley, and Quinton. And if anybody gets on, Jerko. 1-1. And a little roller to short. Tricky hop. Nice play by Cabrera. So we will not see Puig unless the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 9th. At the end of 8, 9-7 Dodgers. And the Chipotle Chicken Club combo. Try one today with fries and a drink for just $4.99 plus tax. And by SoCal Dodge dealers and the Dodge Dart. Dodge, new rules. Dodgers go into the 9th inning trying to hold on to a 9-7 lead. Brandon Lee will be the 6th Dodger pitcher. It's been Lilly, Guerrier, Belisario, Howell, Jansen, and now Brandon. With 12 saves and a 1-2 record, trying to whittle down a rather high ERA for a closer, over 5. And he'll be facing Cabrera, Headley, and Quinton. Cabrera with 2 bunt singles tonight and has grounded out twice, shows bunt, and a strike. Cabrera bunted for a hit in the 5th, bunted for a hit in the 6th. Just on the corner, 0-2. 37,544. Enjoying a slugfest tonight. Ground foul. 6 home runs in the game, 3 for each team. 2 of them from Yasiel Puig. Puig with 5 RBIs. And by the way, he also had a leadoff double. One and 2 the count to Cabrera. Then looking at Everett Cabrera going up against Brandon Lee. He is 1 for 2 in the past. Then you have Headley 1 for 4. And then Quentin 0 for 7. So Everett's still there, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cabrera, Headley, Quentin, if anybody gets on, Jerko. And we may or may not be deprived of seeing Puig's one last at-bat tonight because of the double play. Cabrera from Nicaragua. Got him. The league takes care of Cabrera, 1 out. That'll bring up Chase Headley.
Third baseman, Chase Headley.
Headley flied out twice, fouled out, hit into a double play. Came into the series 0 for 16. Had 1 hit last night. That would be 1 for 20. And now 0 for 4 tonight. 1 for 24. It just shows you get such a wonderful player like Chase Headley, and he can go into a dive like that. But it's the big leagues. Chase last year, an incredible player. 1-1. Ball 2. Brandon Lee working on his 13th save, with the Dodgers leading 9-7. That missed, ball 3. Quentin on deck, and he's had a big game. 3-2. You know, they're doing a lot of research on Puig. After all, tonight, a double, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. The first Dodger ever to have a multi-home run game this early in his career. 2 games and a 5 RBI game. Spider Jorgensen, who was a third baseman, 1947, had a 6 RBI game. And Headley's struggles continue. So for Chase Headley, 2 out. Puig now getting 1 out away from seeing his second victory. Carlos Quentin has had a big night. Home run, 2 singles, 3 for 4. And a strike. 9 runs, 10 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. A line drive off League's glove. Here comes Hanley. Throws, got him. And now Quentin slams his helmet down. Hanley Ramirez making a good backup play. And the Dodgers hold on to win the game. Que viva Cuba. Viva Yasiel or Puig. Substitute loosely as wanted.
what he did tonight, well, we'll take another look at that play off League Club. Here comes Hanley, the throw just in time. Roberts can't believe it. Quentin slams his helmet down. Bud Black is in here to argue he'd already been kicked out of the ball game. And what a game for Yasiel Puig. Let's take a look at it. After his double in the first inning, in the fifth inning with 2 men on, he tied up the game with his first Major League home run. And then for good measure, in the sixth inning, he did it again, only to right field. He winds up with 2 home runs and a double, 5 runs batted in, takes a curtain call, and the Dodgers win it 9-7. I hope you'll be with us out here in the ballpark tomorrow night. It'll be Marquis and Kershaw. We'll talk to you then. Until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good night, everybody.